be reading from the great Oscar Wilde later tonight. But let's begin with some of the weirdos that have called in recently. You know who you are. Let's try this one.
Okay, that was so weird. Somebody just hung up on me. I think there's somebody there. This thing is really haunted. What? Okay, I heard somebody talk. Seriously, something wrong with me. I've been hallucinating for the whole past days, so.
Oh!
This person doesn't even go to the same middle school as I used to. Now I'm going to Pomona. Okay, have fun. Yay, party time. Can't touch this, na-na-na. And I can't touch this, na-na-na. Okay, anyway, yeah.
That's right!
Yep. I'm bored. He was kind of weird. Oh, I guess.
That's right! Oh!
Anyway. So, yeah.
Well, it's better now than it was before. I don't know why it is. I only know I'm grateful that it's better now than it was before. And you can be there too, with only me and you. It's better now. I couldn't tell you why I love to kiss the sky. It's better now than each and every day. I'm trying hard to see it isn't part of me. Better now than I'd hoped it would. And you're a part of that, and everyone inside of me. Oh, it's better now than it was before. It isn't hard to say, hard to feel that way. Better now than I hoped I did. It isn't part of me, it's what I see with you. Oh, it's better now.
I just like,
Me too.
And then to go to fall church.
Yeah, fucking asshole.
Me too.
So I went to U.S. Army Signal Corps back in 1984. And then I left like I was at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and I was a 72 Echo. We had like big clearance.
Yeah, fucking asshole.
I go to the German consulate.
Yeah, fucking
and
asshole.
one of the questions is they say, were you ever treated as
Yeah,
a German?
fucking asshole. Yeah, fucking
I went
asshole.
to U.S. Army Signal Corps. So my grandfather owned an auto body shop in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, which is also owned by organized crime. And I don't know if he shot somebody over there or not. I'm not really sure. But he had 2 6-year-olds. And then they had like notches on them from like the old West. Not serious, like a lot of guns came from the old West. Then he got a Model 98 shotgun. I don't have that kind of installed it out. He was fucking guy from Tennessee or some other shit like that. We had papers for it. But to make a long story short, he went out of business. Like the auto body shop went out of business. And one day some guy came in from organized crime. And he wasn't the guy who paid money for it. I think he shot him. Then they got rid of the body. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure if it was positive or negative. But after World War II, all Germany fell out of fucking Germany. Like if you remember the Nazi party where you were a dirtbag. And my grandfather was a dirtbag. You should remember that. So there's this restaurant called Don Pepe. And on the top of it, they have like a pigeon coop where they keep pigeons. And it's like supposed to be a gangster restaurant. And it's supposed to be like 5-star dining in South Ocean Park, New York. So we assumed that when they made the movie The Producers, the Hitler guy, in the movie, he was taught to take care of the pigeons. That was the pigeon coop. Because the Jews, Jewish, I suppose, in the United States wanted to know who was a Nazi. So he was a dirtbag. And my grandfather was a dirtbag. So they couldn't really arrest him. Just the German government had a business. But they made this movie, The Producers, which is based on the pigeon coop at Don Pepe. Remember that movie? Anyway,
So it's time, finally.
To give us a kind of
Do you like this? Do you like this? Suffering is one very long moment. We cannot divide it by seasons.
It must have been
We can only record its moods and chronicle their returns. With us, time itself does not progress. It revolves. It seems to circle round one center of pain, the paralyzing immobility of life.
In fact,
Every circumstance of which is regulated after an
French had the
unchangeable
right
pattern,
idea about
so that we
Telestar's
eat and
entertainment
drink and
potential.
lie down and
Less than
pray,
2 weeks after the
or
first
kneel
test,
at least
the
for
US
prayer
networks
according to
joined
the
forces
inflexible
with 6
laws
broadcasters
of an
in
iron
Europe.
formula.
First ever
This
transatlantic
immobile quality that
televised
makes each dreadful day in the very minute's detail like its brother seems to communicate itself to those external forces, the very essence of whose existence is ceaseless change. Of seed time or harvest, of the reapers bending over the corn, or the great gatherers threading through the vines.
The Americans
Of the
showed
grass
Europe
in the
a baseball
orchard
game
made
and
white
a press
with broken
conference by
blossoms,
President Kennedy.
or strewn with fallen
BBC's
fruit.
Richard Dimbleby
Of these we know
introduced
nothing
pictures
and
of
can
Big
know
Ben
nothing.
and a concert
For us there
in the
is only
Sistine
one
Chapel.
season,
You see,
the
look,
season
you
of
see in fact,
sorrow.
Vatican City,
The very
the
sun and
Sistine Chapel,
moon seem
where the
taken from
Cardinals
us.
elected.
Outside the
Passed
day
by the
may
two
be
Swiss
blue
guards
and
and
gold,
said,
but the light that
Inside
creeps
the
down
Sistine Plaza
through the
is
thickly
fitted up with
muffled
silk.
clay glass.
We see here, as we hear them, the glories of Michelangelo's last Christ. This one of the world's treasures, the peak of man's artistic
doesn't quite work.
The lounge into the cinema.
Television viewers were entranced by the idea that they could now watch
by the
events happening
idea.
live anywhere in Europe or America. It was all down to Telstar, the only satellite to have a pop song written in its honour.
The name Telstar was an extremely good name to be used for public relations purposes.
A week later, I am transferred here. 3 more months go over and my mother dies. No one knew how deeply I loved and honored her. Her death was terrible to me, but I, once Lord of Language, have no words in which to express my anguish and my shame. She and my father had received me a name. They had made me noble and honored, not merely in literature, art, archaeology, and science,
In that edition of
but in
Witness,
the public
Alex
history.
was talking
Okay.
to Simon Watts. And if you'd like to listen to more of our history programmes,
hold
go
on.
to bbcworldservice.com/
I was a man who stood in symbolic relations to the art and culture of my age. I had realized this for myself at the very dawn of my manhood, and had forced my age to realize it afterwards. Few men hold such a position in their lifetime and have it so acknowledged. It is usually discerned, if discerned at all, by the historian or the critic long after both the man and his age have passed away. With me it was different. I felt it myself and made others feel it. Mine were to something more noble, more permanent, of more vital issue, of larger scope. The gods had given me almost everything, but I let myself be lured into long spells of senseless and sensual ease. I amused myself with being a flaneur, a dandy, a man of fashion. I surrounded myself with the smaller natures and meaner minds. I became the spendthrift of my own genius, and to waste an eternal youth gave me curious joy. Tired of being on the heights, I deliberately went to the depths in the search for new sensation. When the paradox was to me the sphere of thought, perversity became to me in the sphere of passion. Desire at the end was a malady or a madness or both. I grew careless of the lives of others. I took pleasure where it pleased me and passed on. I forgot that every little action of the common day makes or unmakes character, and that therefore what one has done in the secret chamber one has done day to cry aloud on the housetop. I ceased to be lord over myself. I was no longer the captain of my soul and did not know it. I allowed pleasure to dominate me. I ended in horrible disgrace. There is only one thing for me now. Absolute humility. I must learn how to be happy. Once I knew it, or thought I knew it by instinct. It was always springtime once in my heart. My temperament was akin to joy. I filled my life to the very brim with pleasure, as one might fill a cup to the very brim with wine. Now I am approaching life from a completely new standpoint, and even to conceive happiness is often extremely difficult for me. I used to live entirely for pleasure. I shunned suffering and sorrow of every kind. I hated both. I resolved to ignore them as far as possible, to treat them, that is to say, as modes of imperfection. They were not part of my scheme of life. They had no place in my philosophy.
My mother, who knew life as a whole, used to often quote to me Goethe's lines, written by Carlyle in a book he had given her years ago, and translated by him, I fancy also. Who never ate his bread in sorrow, who never spent the midnight hours weeping and waiting for the morrow, he knows you not, ye heavenly powers. I now see that sorrow, being the supreme emotion of which man is capable, is at once the type and test of all great art. When the artist is always looking for the mode of existence in which soul and body are one and indivisible, in which the outward is the expressive of the inward, in which form reveals, of such modes of existence there are not a few. Youth in the arts preoccupied with youth may serve as a model for us at one moment. At another we may like to think that in its subtlety and sensitiveness of impression, its suggestion of a spirit dwelling in external things and making its raiment of earth and air, of mist and city alike, and in its morbid sympathy of its moods and tones and colors, modern landscape art is realizing for us pictorially what was realized in such plastic perfection by the Greeks. Music in which all subject is absorbed in expression and cannot be separated from it is a complex example, and a flower or a child a simple example of what I mean. But sorrow is the ultimate type both in life and art. Behind joy and laughter there may be a temperament coarse, hard, and callous, but behind sorrow there is always sorrow. Pain, unlike pleasure, wears no mask. Truth in art is not any correspondence between the essential idea and the accidental existence. It is not the resemblance of shape to shadow, or of the form mirrored in the crystal to the form itself. It is no echo coming from a hollow hill any more than it is a silver well of water in the valley that shows the moon to the moon and Narcissus to Narcissus. Truth in art is the unity of a thing with itself, the outward rendered expressive of the inward, the soul made incarnate, the body instinct with the spirit. For this reason, there's no truth comparable to sorrow. There are times when sorrow seems to me to be the only truth. Other things may be illusions of the eye or the appetite, made to blind the one and cloy the other. But out of sorrow have the words been built, and at the birth of a child or a star, there is pain. More than this, there is about sorrow an intense and extraordinary reality. I have said to myself that I was one who stood in symbolic relations to the art and culture of my age. There is not a single wretched man in this wretched place along with me who does not stand in symbolic relation to the very secret of life. For the secret of life is suffering. It is what is hidden behind everything. When we begin to live, what is so sweet to us, and what is bitter so bitter, that we inevitably direct all our desires towards pleasures, and seek not merely for a month or twain to feed on honeycomb, but for all years to taste no other food, ignorant all the while that we may really be starving the soul. I remember talking once on this subject to one of the most beautiful personalities I have ever known, a woman whose sympathy and noble kindness to me, both before and since the tragedy of my imprisonment, have been beyond power and description, one who has really assisted me, though she does not know it, to bear the burden of my troubles more than anyone else in the world has. And although the mere fact of her existence, through her being what she is, partly an ideal and partly an influence, a suggestion of one might become, as well as a real help towards becoming it, a soul that renders the common air sweet, and makes what is spiritual seem as simple and natural as sunlight or the sea, one for whom beauty and sorrow walk hand in hand, and have the same message. On the occasion of which I'm thinking, I recall distinctly how I said to her that there was enough suffering in one narrow lane to show that God did not love man, and that wherever there was any sorrow, though but that of a child in some little garden weeping over a fault that it had or had not committed, the whole face of creation was completely marred. I was completely wrong. She told me so, but I could not believe her. I was not in the sphere in which such belief was to be attained to. Now it seems to me that love of some kind is the only possible explanation of the extraordinary amount of suffering that there is in the world. I cannot conceive of any other explanation. I am convinced there is no other, and that if the world has indeed, as I have said, been built of sorrow, it has been built by the hands of love, because no other way could the soul of man for whom the world was made reach the full stature of its perfection. Pleasure for the beautiful body, but pain for the beautiful soul. Oscar Wilde.
Finally, I got my own computer. I was so psyched to explore a whole new world. I just don't feel normal. My friends are nice, but they just don't get me.
I feel like such a weirdo!
Where do you go to be understood? I found this online show. I can call in. I can express myself. Be on TV. Weirdos TV. Weirdos.com. Sometimes a stranger can be your best friend.
Don't you understand? Freedom.